Hi students, welcome to Science Extension and Module 3, the Data, Evidence and Decisions. In this second video, we're going to be looking at types of data and also contrast content and thematic analyses. The specific learning outcome for this particular video is that students can describe the difference between qualitative and quantitative data sets and also the methods used for statistical analysis, including but not limited to content and thematic analyses. And there's our chemistry cat who is asking us a little bit of a question around the two types of people in this world. And I hope you haven't got this far in Science Extension without being able to extrapolate from incomplete data. So when we start analysing data, we're looking at two different types of things. We're looking at qualitative data and quantitative data. And there are going to be occasions where we may even be able to turn some of our qualitative data into quantitative data just with some different tools that we can use to classify different types of responses. However, typically our qualitative responses fall into two main categories or subgroups. They are nominal and ordinal, and quantitative pretty much fall into two as well, which are discrete or continuous. One of the things that's important is to remember that occasionally we want to draw lines of best fit, and when we draw lines of best fit, we're often looking for a relationship that may well be a mathematical relationship between the two variables. Now, we can only do this if we have continuous data. That is, if we draw a line, the line indicates that between any 2 points, all of the values in between are possible. If not, then we're just joining the dots at absolute values. And that means we've got discrete values, not continuous values. So let's have a look at this in a little more detail. When we think about classifying data, we're thinking about qualitative data as specifically relating to measuring or measured by the quality of something. So when we're thinking about qualitative data, we might be thinking about color, we might be thinking about type, we might be thinking about demographics is very common. So when we look at collecting some demographics, that is age group, whether people are identified as male or female, socioeconomic group, their career or their job, their vocation, that sort of thing. All of those sorts of things can be qualitative data. In contrast, quantitative data is relating to measuring or measured by the quantity of something. So that is a number or a size. So we're interested now in specific numbers, and it's these ones that can often be the ones that we link into our lines of best fit, which hopefully are going to demonstrate some sort of a mathematical relationship. So qualitative is about properties and quantitative is about the numbers. When we looked at our qualitative data, we identified two different subgroups of qualitative data. The first was nominal. So for nominal, think name. That is categorical data in the form of a label or a category. So it could be a list of first names, for example, if you're keeping track of people who've participated in a survey. It could be hair color, it could be car color, it could be car make, all sorts of different nominal data. In contrast, we can also have, as part of our qualitative data, ordinal data. Now, ordinal data is descriptive data that has some sort of level. So, for example, if we're thinking about driving, you might be a beginner, you might just be learning, you might feel that you're an intermediate driver, you've been driving for a little while, or perhaps you've had your license for a while and now you're feeling like you're more advanced as a driver. These are different levels and there is some order to them. We don't assume that there's no order to beginner, intermediate, or advanced, not just three different categories, but actually something that suggests that beginner comes before intermediate and intermediate comes before advanced. So some sort of order in the data. When we think about quantitative data, now we're thinking about numbers. So then we've got either discrete data or continuous data. In discrete data, we have numerical data that has a specific value with no intermediates. So then if we are counting numbers of cars or number of students, then there is a difference between 3 students and 4 students, and there's no 3.5 students. So that is where we talk about no intermediate. These are all discrete values. You can have 3 students, you can have 4 students, but you can't have 3.2. Continuous data, on the other hand, is numerical or quantitative data that has all values within the range. So if we're recording temperature, we don't just talk about 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 10 degrees, 12 degrees. We can have 15 degrees, 15.2 degrees, 15.8 degrees, 16.1. All of these are values that can be included within the range 0 to 20, for example. So all of the values are possible. This is continuous data. Another way of thinking about how we're going to organize this data is in the structure of a particular type of analysis. And again, there are two main types that we want to contrast when we're looking at analyzing data. The first of these is around strategies used to analyze the characteristics of a resource. And this is what we call content analysis, because this focuses on the presence or the meaning or the relationships of certain words, themes, or concepts within a given data set or a body of text. We're trying to draw out specific character within the thing that we're studying to see if there's certain consistencies, certain things that pop up more or less regularly. In contrast with content analysis, we have thematic analysis or themes. And these are analyses which convert qualitative data into quantitative data. So you might remember that I said there is a way that we can turn the qual into quant, and one of the ways of doing that is through these kinds of thematic analyses. So these focus on patterns or themes within the data. Often they're more overarching, and they're common in qualitative research to interpret aspects of the research topic. Sometimes there may be opportunities where we turn something like ordinal data into some sort of quantitative. So you might have seen Likert tests, for example, where there might be a strongly disagree, a disagree, a neither agree nor disagree, an agree, and then a strongly agree. So these are, again, they're ordered. There is some sort of representation between the levels of each of these, but they're not numerical. But if I said, well, I'm going to give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to each of these responses, then now I can actually turn something into a pattern that I might be able to notice. For example, if my average is around the 4 to 5 mark, then I might be saying the majority of my respondents are agreeing or strongly agreeing with what it is that I've suggested. Whereas if my average is around the 1 to 2 mark, then I might be thinking, well, actually, the majority of the respondents disagree with what it is that I said. So rather than trying to count all these up, you could actually assign them a particular value and then turn them from a qualitative set of data into something that you can analyze quantitatively. There's some really nice resources that you might look at Mind the Graph, and one of those is a really good summary or comparison table. Now, comparison tables are an excellent study tool, and I really do encourage you as much as possible to use these because they really help with producing your summaries and also helping to get some things set in your mind. This is basically a nice little table that compares the two concepts of content and thematic analyses in terms of the aims and purpose, the type of data you might analyze, the focus of the researcher in each case, and also the interpretation quality and what we can actually draw, what sort of conclusions we might be able to draw from the data in each of these different types of analyses. There's a lot more that we could say, but we're going to be continuing to explore data through the next series of videos. And so this just gives you a little bit of an introduction to some of the different ways that we can classify data and also to classify the types of analyses that we're going to be undertaking with the data that we've collected. Thanks for watching.